When a vengeful ghost from Miles' past returns, will she be able to turn the tide in the ever-growing gang war? Well, let's hop into the pages of Miles Morales' Spider-Man. Issue number 15, a tie into the gang war event, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as you would know if you read Giant-Size Spider-Man that also came out this week, Hobgoblin Roderick Kingsley just so happens to have gotten in league with the Rabble, aka Miles' new arch-nemesis who didn't die during the first arc of this brand new series. She's alive, though her powers have actually been greatly affected by her last confrontation with Spider-Man, which in turn is only making her angrier like she needed it. Together, the Rabble and Hobgoblin hunt down a Beyond scientist looking for a particular data drive. Kingsley says that if the Rabble uses her amazing technical know-how to help him win the gang war, in return he will use the same Beyond helmet that he used to fix his mind and free himself from the Queen Goblin's control. And yeah, you know what, I'm kinda shocked too that this book actually makes more use out of the Beyond saga and Queen Goblin than the main Amazing Spider-Man book did, despite the fact that it all spun out of that series. And Miles himself actually had very little to do with it, but hey, you know what, good ideas are good ideas, I guess. Now back over with Miles and his team, which honestly they could really use a name at this point. Hey, no one's using the Amazing Friends right now, so maybe it should be Spider-Miles and his Amazing Friends. They're all taking turns absolutely molly-whopping the returning Prowler Aaron Davis, who only after he's thoroughly been knocked around a little bit and the enforcers have been dealt with does he finally decide to slow down and open up to his nephew about everything that's been going on. And his answers are actually fairly interesting. You see, as Uncle Aaron puts it, he only ever agreed to work with the Hobgoblin so that he could go undercover and help undermine the bad guy from the inside. In fact, he's only been hanging out with them for a little bit now, and he already knows that Hobgoblin and Rabble are working together to build some sort of super weapon to win the gang war. I mean, okay, that's all well and good, but why did he change his costume? Well, get this, apparently Uncle Aaron only knew about Hobgoblin's plan because he was tipped off by Hornet, aka the original 616 Prowler, who has long since denounced his villainous ways and even his old costume, thinking that it better that Aaron actually take the mantle from here on out. Man, talk about a scene I would have loved to have gone on a little longer. It feels like I've been waiting for these two different Prowlers to meet since forever. Now they finally do, but we only get a snippet of the meeting in a flashback. Also, you gotta love Hobie being like, yeah, I'll give up my original identity for the sake of synergy. Hell, if he does well enough with the Hornet identity, maybe he can become Spider-Punk in 616 eventually. I mean, Cody Ziegler wrote that series. Now that the good guys are all officially on the same page, they decide to go over their next course of action, though Miles is slow to act because, well, he basically ends up having another little panic attack. Yes, it would seem that the Rabble burning down his house and also making him question all of his life choices, even the ones that he wasn't directly responsible for, still cuts Miles deeply, but here's the difference. After doing all that therapy with Doc Sasquatch, Miles is actually able to calm himself down by making use of some of the skills that he's learned, and honestly, it's just nice to see from a character growth point of view. It's after that Team Spider-Man manages to make their way to the Hobgoblin's base of operation using Uncle Aaron's info. Of course, getting inside isn't going to be easy. Kingsley has thrown a lot of money around on the streets recently, and he's actually managed to amass himself a small army of C and D list villains, including the likes of Shocker and even Lady Stiltman. Miles decides that his team should split up. Scorpion, the Cape Killers, and a bunch of the other heavy hitters will stay behind and duke it out with the hired muscle, while him, Kamala, and a few others make it inside to deal with Kingsley. Again, Matt Gargan the Scorpion gets some of the best lines of the whole issue, really considering all the choices in his life that have brought him to this moment where he is working so closely with a Spider-Man, any Spider-Man. It's also around this time too the book remembers, oh yeah, this is the first time that Miles Morales and Kamala Khan, two former champions teammates, have actually been reunited following Kamala's death and resurrection. Obviously, Spider-Man is overjoyed to see his friend alive again, and he knows that him and Miss Marvel are going to have a long conversation about what went down, up to and including why she sacrificed herself in a Peter story, but before they can actually have that whole meta conversation out, they end up getting ambushed by Hobgoblin and Rabble, who seems like they were actively waiting for our heroes as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 15, everybody. Another issue I enjoyed, but much like Giant-Size Spider-Man, the issue that also came out this week, I feel like there were some good ideas that I wish had a little bit more room to breathe. Uncle Aaron finally having a big meeting with Hobie Brown and deciding the fate of the Prowler identity feels like it really should have been a story unto itself. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad we actually got got something. But again, I can't help but feel like it deserved a little bit more pomp and circumstance. Like, yeah, I get it, Uncle Aaron gets to be the main universe prowler mostly because of synergy and because those Spider-Verse movies are so good. But if you're gonna tell the story, tell it. Likewise, Miles getting to reunite with Kamala Khan following her death. Feels like that could have been a whole issue right there. I will reiterate what I said in the Giant-Size Spider-Man review, and that is I love Rabble actually coming back as soon as she did to be a major threat once again. Especially when we stop and consider that the Rabble is basically the whole reason Miles decided to undertake this quest of self-improvement, going to therapy and everything, because this villain really did manage to get inside his head. I also wasn't expecting all the stuff with Roderick Kingsley and Queen Goblin to be so prevalent here throughout the Miles series like it is, but it is, and as someone who actually quite enjoyed the Beyond era of Spider-Man stories, I'm glad that stuff is actually getting dealt with somewhere. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 7.5 out of 10, much like Giant-Size Spider-Man that came out this week. It feels like you only got half a story and you're really supposed to read both issues back to back, which I did and which I can appreciate, but God help you if you only read one. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.